It's the apocalypse, Mom! I'll go to bed when I'm damn good and ready. Hi, it's Ryan from Knights Around a Table. Here's how to play Revive. You and your friends play the last remnants of civilization who have been clustered underground for 5,000 years while everything completely collapsed topside. You'll crawl out of your hidey hole and discover fresh water and natural resources beneath the snow, constructing buildings and repopulating the ravaged remnants of cities, all while developing different machines and modules to give yourself a competitive leg up to determine who will become the dominant tribe in this brave new world. When all of these freaky alien-faced artifacts are claimed, well, that triggers the end of the game, and then you count up the scores to see who's won. Here's the main board it's set up. Here's the hole you'll be crawling out of. There are a few thought-out hexes, but the rest of the world is blocked by ice and snow. Your main score tracker is here, with another one here where you get perks every time you take a rest turn, which the game calls hibernation. Your player board is like a big technology console where you play your cards and track your upgrades. The game has 3 resources: gears, books, and food, which represent technology, knowledge, and food. The 4th resource is crystals, which are wild and can stand in for the other 3. You start with a different number of these resources depending on your spot and turn order. Over here, you get a switch you can pull down to do interesting stuff. I designed and 3D printed these special upgraded switches because I'm cool like that. If you back me on Patreon, I'll send you the files so you can print them yourself. I'll also be using this Boss 3D printed insert. I didn't design this, but I did make a map to help you put everything back in the box. If you want a copy of that, I'll see you on Patreon. Everyone starts the game with a similar deck of 6 starter cards. 3 of them are held in stasis and are unavailable, but the other 3 go face up next to your board. Everyone plays a different tribe with its own special abilities. All the small buildings you can construct are here. Your big buildings are here, and your populace goes on these spaces. You get some discs you can free up for points and perks whenever you fire off your tribe's unique power. Now, the game hides a bunch of extra rules behind these cards, which it calls campaigns, and the idea is you have to play the game 5 separate times to unlock these rules. My recommendation is forget that. These rules aren't so complicated that you can't easily just add them all in the first time you play. Honestly, I think the whole campaign idea was just a marketing gimmick. I'll be teaching you the game with all these extra rules folded in, so spoilers if you care, but honestly, you're not spoiling anything that I think is worthy of remaining unspoiled. One of those extra rules is that the tribe boards have a sun side and a moon side. And after you finish your 3rd game, you get to start using the moon side. Well, generally the moon side is more complex than the sun side. Your turn. On your turn, you get 2 cubes. All of the actions you can take are on this reference card. This is a game where things can get pretty combo-y and hard to track, so when you take an action, you can place a cube on that action to remind you that you've done a thing. Your second action can either be a different action or the same action. This stuff over here is what you can do when you take a restful hibernation turn. You can't take a regular action here and then the hibernate action. You're either doing 1 or 2 things here or throwing both cubes on hibernate to do all of that stuff. Here's the stuff you can do. You can play a card, flip over a snowy tile to explore what's underneath, construct a building, repopulate a city, or pull down your pants by sliding your switch to the bottom. To play a card, choose one of the face-up cards in your active area and slot it into an empty slot in your player board, either at the top or the bottom. If you slot it into the top, you get to do the stuff on the top of the card. In this case, it's collecting 2 book resources. If you slide the card into the bottom, you can do the stuff on the bottom of the card. You're not allowed to flip the card upside down before you slot it. Only these 4 slots are available to you at the beginning of the game, but you can unlock this special side slot later in the game. And if there's already a card in a slot, you can't stick another one in there. That slot is blocked. We'll talk more about what the cards do in their own section. To construct a building, you pick an empty sand space somewhere on the board. You're here right now, and distance matters. Every hex tile between you and the sand space you want to build on costs you 1 food. So if you wanted to build here, there's 1 space between you and it. Therefore, the range between you and the tile is 1, so you'd have to pay 1 food. Or a crystal, since they're wild. If you wanted to build something over here, you'd have to pay 2 food to cover that 2 tile range. This spot is 0 range away from you, so you don't have to pay any food to cover that range. There are 2 different things you can construct, a small building or a big building. Small buildings cost you 3 gears, while big buildings cost you 5 gears. Pay the required number of gears depending on what you want to build, and any food you need to cover the distance. Pop off the building from your faction board and place it on the sand space. Remember, it's only 1 building per sand space, including your own. Your buildings are a limited resource. So, for example, if you run out of big buildings, you'll have to resort to constructing only small buildings. When you construct a building, you get to collect perks from the adjacent hex tiles. These terrain types can be either green forests, gray mountains, or yellow fields. For every colored terrain tile that borders your new building, you get to advance your marker along the machine track that matches that color. Forest puts you up on the green track, mountain puts you up on the gray track, and fields advance you along the yellow track. There are different prizes you can earn along the way, which we'll talk about soon. If you construct a big building, every terrain tile counts double. So 2 bumps up on the green, yellow, and or gray tracks instead of just 1. Some tiles have water hexes on them. If you build next to these, you get the prize on the tile. But you can only collect that prize once. Even if you put a big building next to it, or even if you swing by later and build something else bordering the same water tile, you don't get to collect that prize a second time. And a big building doesn't get you double the prizes from a water space like it does if you build it next to a terrain tile. Certain tiles have ruined cities on them, which the game calls locations. You can take an action to repopulate those locations. All of your population pieces are tied up here on your faction board, and with each piece you put out, you unlock a new perk or ability. But this works like a tech tree with locked branches. You have to put this population piece out first before putting out this one, which unlocks this one. You can't just start with this one, or jump to this one without having first unlocked this one. The cost in books to repopulate a location is next to each piece. So this first one costs 2 books. Just like constructing buildings, you also have to pay range in food depending on how far away from you the location is. As you construct buildings and repopulate cities, you no longer measure range from the chasm in the middle of the board. Instead, you have to measure your range from your closest piece, even if the chasm is closer to where you're trying to go. You don't live there anymore. So if you had a piece here and you wanted to populate this city next to the chasm, the range is no longer 0 because your closest piece is here. So the range is now 2. Pay up. Unlike with buildings, where you can put more than 1 population piece on a city tile, as long as the other pieces aren't your own. But you have to pay a book to each player who already has a piece there. So in addition to paying the cost to place here, you'd also pay a book to the purple player and a book to the yellow player by moving your book counter down as those players move theirs up. The big face-up tiles on each corner of the board are also considered locations. If you manage to populate one of these, it's going to give you some sort of endgame scoring bonus. To go exploring, you pick a tile on the map to flip over. Once again, you have to pay range from wherever you are. So if your civilization is still stuck in the hole and you wanted to flip this tile, well, that's range 1, so it costs you 1 food. If you wanted to flip a tile all the way over here, you'd have to pay 3 food. And these are the only tiles you're able to explore. You can't explore these ones because they're blocked by the unexplored tiles. You also have to pay whichever resources are shown on the back of the tile. 2 food, 3 food, 2 books and 2 food, and so on. If you can afford to pay the resources on the tile and the range cost in food to reach that tile, well, you can turn it over. There are 2 possible ways the tile could be oriented, like this or like this. As the flipper, you get to choose. If you flip a tile such that a terrain hex now appears adjacent to any building, yours or someone else's, the building owners get to advance their similarly colored machine tracks in response, 1 or 2 steps depending on the size of the building. Each tile has a graphic on it telling you what you'll find somewhere on the other side. The more valuable tiles you can explore have either a water space or a location on their flip side, and the cheap seats will have neither. When you flip a tile, you get a certain number of points listed on the back of the tile, and you also get to acquire a new card of your choice from the display. These cards are better, more powerful versions of your starting cards. The new card you take goes directly into your action area, allowing you to prolong your run without having to take a hibernate turn, which we'll talk about shortly. 2 of the tiles on the board are vast crystals. Flipping these gets you 4 points and a crystal resource, but no extra card. Anyone who's already bordering one of these with a building, or who builds there later, gets a crystal and a point, or 2 crystals and 2 points if the building is big. These not vast crystals along the edges of the board give you 1 or 2 crystals if you construct a small or big building next to them. Vast crystal tiles block range, so you can't travel through them. You have to go around them. If you pull down your pants by sliding your switch to the bottom, you can take either 1 regular resource of your choice, anything but a crystal, or claim all the prizes at the top of any other player's card that they've docked in their player board. You can't copy the bottom of a player's docked card. If you copy a card, that player gets to remove the card and put it in their rest pile, freeing up that slot so they can potentially play a different card there later. Sometimes players will use a funky perk to be able to turn a card upside down somewhere. Pulling your pants down lets you copy the top part of someone's card, so if they use a perk to flip it upside down and slot it here, for example, well, that's still the top part of the card, so, well, yes, you get to copy it. And likewise, if they used a flippy perk to slot a card in upside down at the top of the board, exposing the card's bottom, well, you can't copy that because you can only copy the tops of cards. If you're all out of cards to play, or all your slots are blocked, or if you have no resources and you're completely stuck, or if you just want to do it because it gives you a strategic advantage, you can hibernate instead of taking 1 or 2 regular actions on the other side of your reference card. When you hibernate, a bunch of stuff happens. You pick up the face-down cards in your rest area and put them in your active area, which may or may not be empty. Then you remove all the cards you've docked under your player board and move them to your rest area. You sink all your energy tokens into the pit in the center of your board. We haven't talked about these yet, but we will. You pull your pants up, and then you move your marker up 1 space on the hibernation track. This lets you claim a prize, either the prize next to the space you're on, or any prize from one of the lower spaces. Then your hibernation turn is finished, and you pass the cubes on to the next player. The cards in your rest area aren't meant to be a mystery. At any point, you can look through them to see what you're about to free up if you hibernate. Machine tracks. When you construct buildings next to green, gray, and yellow terrain tiles, or when you cash in prizes with these symbols, or this wild symbol referring to any track, you get to advance the matching token along a machine track on your player board. Whenever a marker reaches a space connected with one of these spots with a blue disc on it, you get to unlock that spot. You pluck the disc off and put it on this track along the side of your player board, and doing that immediately unlocks additional prizes for you here, 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 and here. Beneath the disc is a machine that will do something for you if you place an energy token on it. You start the game with 1 energy token, but you can earn more as you go. Well, for example, by freeing up more blue discs to place along this track. Each track unlocks a pre-printed machine at step 2. At step 4 of each track, you uncover a blank machine. You get to fill that spot with a machine from the display matching that track's color. It looks like we should have unlocked a machine at step 3 of each track, but you actually have to get 1 track at or past 3 with a complementary track reaching or passing step 7. So you can unlock this green machine slot if you reach or pass 7 green and 3 yellow. At 5 of one and 10 of another, you unlock one of these freaky, nightmare-inducing artifacts, which get you endgame points and speed the game along to its conclusion. Well, this is a one-time bonus. These spaces aren't machines that you can activate again and again. That's why they're hexagonal instead of circular. And if you go hog wild and max out a machine track, every additional bump up that track gets you a resource of the matching color. A gear on the gray track, a book on the green track, or a food on the yellow track. At the end of each track, if you're at or past 6 and 12 on 2 different tracks, you get endgame points based on how many cards you collected of a certain color, while not including your starting cards. The great thing about machines is that using them doesn't eat up one of your regular actions. You just put an energy token on the machine and use its ability. If you have lots of machines and lots of energy, well, you can do this as much as you want on your turn, either before, in between, or after you take your 1 or 2 actions. If you're taking a hibernation turn, you can spend energy to power your machines before you hibernate. But once you hibernate and free up all your energy tokens, you'll have to wait until the beginning of your next turn to start using your machines again. Each machine can only be activated with a single energy token. Once a machine is energized, you can't generally use it again until you hibernate. Activate this pre-printed machine to extend your range by 1 this turn without having to pay the extra food. Use this one to remove a card from a slot and put it in your rest area, freeing up that slot. Activate this one to turn any resource into a wild crystal. The special machines from the display are, of course, better than the pre-printed ones. Anytime you get to take one of the special machines, you immediately fill the gap so that there are always 3 machines in each color to choose from. This holds true for anything you take from a display, cards, machines, or whatever these things are. You refill immediately. You don't have to wait till your turn is over. Card abilities. Your starting cards are all very straightforward, and everybody starts with a very similar deck. As for these ones, slot them in at the top to gain 2 gears, 2 books, or 2 food. Or a gear and a book and a food, or a food and a gear. Slot them along the bottom to gain a yellow machine track bump, a crystal, or the ability to convert up to 3 regular non-crystal resources to 3 other regular non-crystal resources. The star means you get to use your tribe's special ability listed along the bottom of your board. When you do that, you also get to pluck off a blue disc and place it along the left scoring track, and claim a prize if there's one to be had. These perks are called slot modules, which is hard to remember, so I call them tea bags. There's a display of 5 different tea bags that you get to choose from. Grab one and place it in any empty tea bag spot on your board. If you cover up a tea bag spot with a green check mark, you immediately get to cash in the prize on that tea bag. You can always kick a tea bag off your board to make room for a different one, but if you place the new one on a check mark you've previously covered, you don't get the bonus activation. That check mark is burned. Now, whenever you slot a card in whose color matches one or more of your tea bags, in addition to claiming the prize on the card, you get to claim the prizes on those tea bags. And you get to do it all in any order you like. So, slotting this yellow card gets you the prizes on this tea bag and this tea bag, but not on this one because the color doesn't match the color of the card. As with the special machines, replenish the display every time you take a tea bag, even if you're in a position to take multiple tea bags in a row. Anytime you see this slash on a card, it means or. Take a tea bag or use your tribe's special ability. The fancier cards that you gain from exploring and flipping over tiles have all kinds of cool abilities. Here, you gain a book, and you can immediately play a gray card. Here, you get to reclaim one of your spent energy tokens. Here, you get one of any regular resource per red flask you have. Well, red flasks sometimes show up on tea bags or special machines. Certain cards have this weird viney border along the top or the bottom. If you slot one of these, it lets you break the 1 card per slot rule. You can slot another card in the top of this one, or another card in the bottom of this one. And if you have multiples of these types of cards, you can just keep slotting. What's more, if the card you chain is the same color as the card that's already there, you additionally get to activate that card. And if any of the tea bag colors match, well, you get those prizes again too. If other players pull their pants down to copy the top of one of your cards, you only put the copied card in rest, not the entire stack. If you have 2 or more cards in a slot and you use an ability that lets you put one into your rest pile, well, you can freely choose which card to get rid of. Tribe abilities. Everyone gets to play a different, unique tribe with its own special ability, which you can activate by using a star. Stars are most often found on the bottoms of cards. The first time you populate a location, you uncover another unique ability which is ongoing. You don't need a star to activate it. And there are 2 more unique abilities here and here. These 4 population perks are the same for all players. Take an artifact in a crate, take an artifact and get 2 points, or take an artifact and get an energy token. What's a crate? Well, it's a token with perks and prizes on the back that you can peek at and cash in whenever you like. When you decide to, you can spend these resources directly out of the crate. You don't have to transfer the stuff to your resource storage first. You can also earn crates in other places, like along the score track or from water spaces. Uncovering this technology unlocks your side slot, which, in addition to being another place to put a card, also lets you slot a card this way or this way, giving you more flexibility. You're allowed to play teabags to this slot even before you've unlocked it. If you play the Sun side of the Nodder tribe, using your star power gets you 2 extra books. If you populate a location with this piece, you get to substitute books for food or gears for the rest of the game. So this makes books wild. Unlock this to get a book and a point every time you use your faction's star power. Unlock this to skip forest and water tiles when counting range. On the moon side, you get 5 portable forest tiles. Activating your star power lets you pay a crystal to place one on an empty sand space, and you have to pay for range as well. Anyone with a building next to that newly placed forest tile gets the appropriate green machine track bumps. When you place that tile, you get a book plus 1 book for every green forest tile in a contiguous blob. So the bigger the chain of forests you build, the more books you get. And if you've unlocked this space, your books are wild. They can stand in for anything but crystals. Here, whenever you activate your star power, you can spend up to 3 books to earn 3 points. The Hasselhoff's faction lets you gain a resource for every water space you have a building next to. Well, not every building you have next to a water space, so this counts as 1, not 2. Unlock this, and for the rest of the game, you can trade 2 resources for a crystal. This spot permanently increases your range by 1 whenever you construct a building, and unlocking this means that you never have to pay extra books if you populate a location that other players have already populated. On the moon side, you get 5 temple tokens. When you activate your star ability, you can pay a crystal to put one on an empty water space on the board, paying for range. You get to claim the reward from that space even if you haven't built next to it. And if you build next to it later, well, you get to claim the reward again. So effectively, you can claim the prize from a water space twice, breaking the usual rule. These temples now count as spots you can measure your range from, in addition to your other population and building pieces. Unlocking this spot means that for the rest of the game, you can measure an additional 2 range for free from any temple. The 0x49 faction is so called because that's the hex value for the number 73, and the number 73 is the ASCII code for the capital letter I, so the tribe's name is pronounced I, as in iRobot, because the game designers are nerds. Anyway, they get to pay a food for 2 points when you activate their star power. Here, you get a 1 food discount when you explore. Robots don't need to eat, I guess. Up here, you can take the population token you just placed and move it to any other city on the board where you don't already have a guy. If other players have populated that location, you don't have to pay the extra population fee when you get there. And over here, you can uncover a machine that gets you unlimited range when you explore. You still have to activate this machine with an energy token though. On the moon side, you get 5 target tokens. When you activate your star power, you can place a token on any empty sand or city space on the map. You don't even have to pay for range. If you build there, you get to reclaim the target token and get a 2 resource discount on your building. If someone else builds there, all the resources they pay to build or populate get paid to you, not including the range cost or the extra book cost to populate an occupied city. The Vikunter tribe gets a 1 range boost for building, populating, or exploring when you activate their tribe ability. Unlocking this spot gets you a 1-time bonus of a crate and a crystal. Now for the rest of the game, whenever you gain a crate, you also gain a crystal. Here, your range is permanently extended by 1. Well, same thing here. On the moon side, you get a special falcon playing piece, which begins the game in the hole, just like everyone else. When you use a star to activate your tribe power, well, you can move your falcon 3 spaces for every star power disc you've uncovered, including the one you're uncovering right now. So if 2 are uncovered, you can move your falcon up to 6 spaces away. The advantage here is that you can measure range from your falcon, so maybe you want to fly out and populate all those hard to reach corner locations that give you endgame points. Unlock this to get a resource discount anywhere you do something on a tile adjacent to your falcon, explore, build, or populate. And unlock this to gain resources depending on which type of terrain your falcon lands on after it flies around. If you go with the Formica faction, you can activate their power to convert 1 crystal into a food, a book, and a gear up to 3 times. Unlock this to get a 1 gear discount for every mountain terrain adjacent to where you construct a building. If you unlock this, then for the rest of the game, you can swap a crystal at any time to get 2 gears, 2 food, or 2 books. Unlocking this machine means you can activate it at any time to gain a crystal. On the moon side, you get 5 workshop tokens. Activate your star power to pay a crystal to place a workshop on any empty terrain space. You don't have to pay range. You get a machine bump of the matching color. Now, whenever you take an action, build, populate, or explore, adjacent to one of your workshops, you get a 1 resource discount on that action. Workshops don't discount your range costs, and multiple workshops won't get you multiple discounts on the same action. Here, you get to pull your pants up. For the rest of the game, whenever you pull them down, you can copy the bottom action on another player's slotted card instead of the top. The card's bottom actions tend to be more powerful than the top ones. Finally, there's the Kunibon tribe. Activate their star power to pay a food to grab a card from the display. Unlocking this power lets them additionally gain a resource with each new card they claim, depending on the color of the card. Here, they can perpetually pay a crystal to move a card to their rest area, freeing up a slot. You can also unlock this machine, which takes an energy token to activate, to move a card from your active area to your rest pile, claiming the goodies at the top of the card. So you get to play that card for its top ability without gumming up a slot. On the moon side, you get 5 of these tokens. Whenever you activate a star power, you can place one of those tokens on an empty terrain space, paying for range, and claim a card from the display that matches the color of the terrain tile you covered up. So cover up a mountain and take a gray card. If there aren't any matching cards in the display, well, you don't get to take a card. You also can't nuke a Nadar forest tile with one of these. If anyone, including you, builds on one of your special tiles, well, they earn a point. Excepting tribes that have a limited number of tokens, like the moonside versions of the Kunibon, Nadar, Formica, and Hasselhoffs, if you activate your tribe's star power enough times to burn through all 5 of your discs, you can still activate and use your tribe's ability after that. You just don't get to free up another disc and score it along the left side of your board. Artifacts. The game clock is measured by these absolutely terrifying artifacts, which look like they were made by someone who flunked out of taxidermy school. They come in 3 colors, purple, orange, and white, and whenever you gain one, you can pick the artifact color you want, if it's still available. Everyone starts the game with a private goal card that will score you points in different categories, and any artifacts you collected will let you score that matching category additional times. Once someone takes the last major artifact, the active player claims this 4-point game-ending tile. Note that in rare cases, the active player may not be the same player who claimed that final artifact. Every other player gets one final turn, and then you count up the scores to see who's won. If anyone gets to claim 1 or more artifacts after they're all gone, well, they claim a minor artifact instead, which is worth 2 points. Endgame. There are 2 different types of points in Revive, blue points and purple points. You earn blue points immediately. You only earn purple points at the end of the game. As you truck along the scoring track, you could earn crates or major artifacts as prizes, but once the game's over and you're just counting up the purple points, you don't earn those scoring track prizes. To count up your endgame points, first look at the lowest exposed score on the scoring track at the side of your board, and add those to the main scoring track. Then score 2 points for every technology you've unlocked on your tribe board. In other words, 2 points for every population marker you put out. Score any points you earned from the large corner locations you populated. Well, this one gets you 2 points for each of your energy markers. This one gets you 2 points for every new card you gained over and above your starting deck. The rest are in the rulebook. If you unlocked one of these spaces by advancing 2 of your certain machines to levels 12 and 6, you collect points for every card of a certain color you've collected. Once again, starting cards don't count. Then collect 4 points if you grabbed this and ended the game, and 2 points for each one of these you nabbed. Every 5 of your unspent resources, rounding down, gets you a point. Finally, score each of the 3 categories on your private artifact card. Each hellish horror mask you've collected lets you score a category 1 additional time. So you get to score each category once at a minimum. If you had 2 purple artifacts, you get to score this category a total of 3 times. Whoever has the most points wins. Leftover unscored resources break ties, and if there's still a tie, whoever has the most combined machine track advances wins. If there's still a tie, the player who claims victory is whoever has to spend the most on PTSD therapy from staring at this thing. Setup. To set up the game, lay out the main board and randomly place the starting tiles, the ones with S on the back, around the center hole. From the remaining batch of tiles, replace 2 of them at random with the 2 vast crystal tiles. Scatter the tiles randomly, face down. The vast crystal tiles aren't allowed to be adjacent to one another. Everyone takes a player board and places their resource tokens at 0 across the board. Cover up all the machine slots with discs, including the pre-printed ones. Pop your switch into the pants up position. You start with 1 energy token. Randomly choose who gets to go first. That player gets 1 crystal. Player 2 in clockwise order gets a crystal and a gear. Player 3 gets a crystal, a gear, and a book. Player 4 gets 1 of all 4 resources to start out. If you all know the game, then in reverse turn order, everyone can choose a tribe board, selecting either the sun side or the moon side, and claim the associated tiles or bird if you choose the moon side. Your last 5 discs cover up your tribe ability. Pop a population marker on each technology. Your 5 small buildings go here, and your 3 big buildings go here. Everyone places a marker at the beginning of the scoring track and the hibernation track. Why do these look like ghosts? Because the future is spooky. Put out all the major artifacts, trying not to look directly at them. The back of these tokens have numbers. Exclude any tokens with a number exceeding your player count. Shuffle the tea bags and put out 5 of them. As for the special machines, turn up 3 of each color. Deal 5 citizen cards to the common display. Deal everyone an artifact card. Or if you know the game well, deal everyone 2 artifact cards and let everybody pick one and return the other. Or, if you know the game really well, use the variant from the expansion and don't give any artifact cards to anybody. Instead, deal 1 card out to the table and have everyone use the same artifact card as a public goal. I recommend this variant because the artifact cards are a little imbalanced and some players can luck out if they get dealt an easy one. Grab your starting deck of 6 cards. Each starting deck is labeled A, B, C, and D. Alternatively, you can draft your starting cards. Shuffle the A, B, C, and D decks together along with this deck of cards marked S. Deal 7 cards to each player. Everyone picks 2 and passes the remaining cards to their left. Choose another 2, pass the deck, and then choose your final 2 and discard the last remaining card. However you get your starting deck, shuffle it up and draw 3 cards. Those go into your active display while the other 3 hang out in your rest area. Pass the action cubes to the starting player to kick off the game. And now, you're ready to play Revive.
Did you just watch that whole thing? Oh, hey! To 100% this video, click the badge to subscribe, and then click the bell to get notifications when I've got new stuff.